Hello, my name is Ivan Hurd, and I'm an assistant professor of piano pedagogy at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I just want to start today by thanking MTNA for the opportunity to present to all of you virtually. And I'm sorry that I can't see you all in person at this year's conference, but we'll definitely look forward to seeing all of you next year in Atlanta. My presentation is titled Colors of Sound, Preparing Students for the Music of Debussy. Some of Debussy's most well-known works for piano include Clair de Lune, Golliwogg's Cakewalk, and the First Arabesque. It is likely that our students will request to play these works as they start to explore more repertoire and progress to late intermediate levels. In The Pianist's Guide to Standard Teaching and Performance Literature by Jane McGraw, she grades the most accessible pieces as level 8, and these include the First Arabesque, Dr. Gradus ad Parnassum, and Golliwogg's Cakewalk, whereas Clair de Lune is graded at level 10, which is probably the most requested piece by our students. These pieces contain a variety of technical and musical challenges that students wishing to explore impressionistic music may not quite be ready to tackle when they first discover these pieces. Just a few quick points on some background of Impressionism and some musical characteristics of impressionistic music. Impressionism is a term that was first used to mock Monet's Impression Sunrise, which you see in the upper left corner, a painting dating from 1873. The art critic Jules Castanieri in 1874 first described painters as impressionists, remarking that they do not, quote, render the landscape, but the sensation produced by the landscape. The first known reference to Debussy's music as impressionistic dates from the 1880s. Debussy wrote of his piece Spring, which is now lost to us, quote, the idea I had was to compose a work in a very special color, which should cover a great range of feelings. In music, composers tried to explore the short-lived moments of life by representing water, fountains, fog, clouds, snow, and nighttime in their music. They used major seconds and unresolved chords to create new sound colors. To obscure the sense of time, tremolos, ostinatos, and other rhythmic complexities were used. Whole tone and pentatonic scales also obscure one's sense of time, creating a hypnotic sound quality. Debussy's tonal language combines diatonic and chromatic elements to juxtapose stability with instability. Additionally, he often presents the same material against different bass notes, like a fixed object seen from different angles. I would like to share with you pieces by educational composers that will help bridge the gap between levels 1 through 7 and expose students to these musical qualities of Impressionism until they are ready to enter level 8 when they're going to play their first pieces by Debussy. Jennifer Lynn is known for her collections Les Petites Images, Les Petites Impressions, and American Impressions, and I'll discuss a few pieces from those collections later on. In addition to those collections, she has also written some of the easiest pieces for children and an impressionist style. Japanese Garden is a level 1 piece that features major seconds and minor thirds, which combine to create a major pentatonic scale, a common feature of impressionistic music. This and the addition of the damper pedal throughout adds to the dreamy character. The teacher accompaniment features the exact same notes, but are used in rolled chords and eighth note passages, which help to create a sense of flowing movement. Dynamics are going to be essential for the effectiveness of this piece. Here is Japanese Garden. Elvina Pierce's collection Solo Flight also includes many level 1 pieces that feature long pedals and pentatonic scales. Pieces from her collection Second Impressions includes pieces at level 2, such as Sparks and Snow Swirls. While Sparks is not shown here, it uses whole tone scales and fast staccato articulations, which to me sound like the quick firing of sparks at the end of a sparkler. So even at an early stage, students can start to think more about their interpretations. Here you see snow swirls, which is polytonal in the opening with C major and G flat major chords, and uses a whole tone scale later on. The broken chords and pianissimo dynamics sound like snow calmly spinning in the air at night. Here's snow swirls. Ingrid Jacobson Clarefield and Dennis Alexander have co-authored a series of 3 books, Keys to Stylistic Mastery, that include original compositions as well as standard pieces that represent each style. Preceding each time period, there is an information page listing important facts about the period as well as characteristics of the music. The information on musical qualities is particularly helpful as a discussion point for teachers and their students. Learning such musical characteristics will help bring the pieces that follow to life. In Book 1, Dennis Alexander composed 4 pieces in an impressionistic style. The Lonely Sparrow is a level 3 piece that features whole tone scales and grace notes that are reminiscent of bird calls. The extended range to the lower extremity of the piano introduces students to the full range of the keyboard, and the dynamic range is mostly confined to the extreme levels of piano. Long pedal indications, as well as use of the unicorda pedal, are characteristic techniques of the impressionistic style. Here is the Lonely Sparrow. The piece quotes material from Debussy's Vals, which is a piece from the first book of Preludes. We hear the descending double thirds, grace notes, and single notes in the low register of the opening phrase. Here, for comparison, is Debussy's piece. Jennifer Lynn's collection, Les Petites Images, is an important collection to prepare students to play more advanced works in this style. The composer has provided performance notes for each piece, and each piece also has a French title with an English translation. A glossary of terms found at the beginning of the book is very useful as French terms are used throughout, and it's helpful to have the translations. There are a number of pieces in this collection at level 4. Some of my favorites include Thunder on the Plains and Asteroids. Lynn's program notes for the Mad Hornet tells the story of a childhood memory and a dangerous encounter with a hornet in the backseat of a car. The fast tempo, half steps between the hands, and the accented and staccato notes all contribute to the buzzing and stinging qualities of hornets. Speed and hand crossings are the main technical challenges and contribute to this level 4 piece sounding much harder than it is to play. You may have heard a quick page turn in there as my attempt to shoo away that hornet. Sadly, I will not have time to share any pieces from Jennifer Lynn's first collection of impressionistic-inspired pieces, Les Petites Impressions, but I would like to share a quote of hers from the preface to that book. Lynn writes, "This collection was inspired by the desire to have more preparatory repertoire available for intermediate level pianists to explore the unique pianistic and musical challenges of the Impressionist style. Unfortunately, Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel left few pieces that even late intermediate students can perform successfully. All too often, pianists reach the college level barely experiencing this genre at all. The subtle musical language and pianistic choreography required to play these works is challenging at any age. It is my hope that pianists of all ages will play Les Petites Impressions and experience the layers of color, touch, timing, to be able to play these pieces with the musical freedom and technical confidence." Many of the pieces are at levels 5 and 6, and some of my favorites include A Lighthouse in the Fog and Moon Shadows on the Mountain. I highly recommend you check those out if you don't know them already. Catherine Rolland has also contributed a set of pieces intended to prepare students for Debussy and Ravel in her collection, Spotlight on Impressionist Style. When I first sat down to play Water Lilies, I was instantly reminded of the opening of Debussy's Reflections in the Water. Both pieces begin with an open fifth on D flat and continue to climb up the keyboard in a similar rhythmic pattern. Water Lilies features long pedals that blur the harmony, fast and quick changing dynamics. In the B section, Catherine Rolland writes fast descending 16th notes that sound like trickles of water. Students will have an opportunity to focus on careful phrasing in this level 5 piece. For comparison, here is a bit of Debussy's Reflections in the Water. And Catherine Rolland's Water Lilies. Jennifer Lynn's American Impressions is a collection of pieces inspired by the American landscape. An energetic showpiece, Spirit of the West, features fast 16th notes in the right hand, which require strong fingers and dexterity, against a syncopated melody in the left hand. The 16th note accompaniment transfers to the left hand, and the right hand takes over the open fifths, which quickly climb up the keyboard. The syncopated rhythms, open fifths, and fast accompaniment give this level 6 piece the character of a hoedown. Lynn describes the unrelenting 16th notes as a train going full steam ahead that just won't stop. Students will really enjoy the rhythmic vitality in this piece, and once they've mastered the rhythmic accompaniment, It's fairly easy to play and sounds much harder than it is in reality. This is a great piece to close a recital, and I hope you enjoy the performance by Dr. Alan Huckleberry of the University of Iowa's Piano Pedagogy Project, which is available on YouTube. It's a really fun piece and definitely a crowd pleaser. Reflections is the final collection by Jennifer Lynn featured today and includes 5 pieces at levels 6 and 7. So try to remember the image you see as I discuss what I consider to be the most inventive piece in the collection called Black Canyon. To me, this piece tells the narrative of a vast, dark, and dangerous canyon. Students will get to play inside the piano by strumming the bass strings, which start the piece with an eerie ring. You will hear ominous fifths in the low register of the piano, perhaps representing the trepidation one would have around the canyon. Ascending figures might represent a close call of getting too close to the edge, followed by fast descending patterns that might sound like the rocks that fall beneath your feet if you got too close. At the very end of the work, Lynn even gives the indication of panic. Students will be challenged with changing tempi, fast passage work, grace notes, quick hand crossings, and musical interpretation in this level 7 piece. Here's a portion of Black Canyon. So thank you all for attending my session, and I hope that gives you just a taste of many pieces that will help your students, whether they're level 1, level 5, or even level 7, getting ready to play their first pieces by Debussy. Again, that's really just a quick introduction. There's a lot of literature available, which will be included in your accompanying handout. And it includes both educational composers as well as standard composers that have written in an impressionistic style. Again, I just want to thank MTNA for the opportunity to present virtually. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy, and I look forward to seeing you next year in Atlanta.